You must love podcasts if you're listening to this. Do you want to start your own one or you already have one? Then follow Smarter Podcasting to get expert advice from me, Neil Mackay, the podcast guy. Since 2019, we've worked with over 40 podcasters, produced over 700 episodes, and helped many podcasts get to the top of the Apple Podcast charts. And right now, I'm offering you a professional edit for just $27. Click the link in the show notes. Are you a content creator looking for an efficient and powerful editing tool? Then look no further than Descript. Descript simplifies the editing process for audio and video content, allowing you to write, record, transcribe, and edit all in one platform. I started using Descript several years ago and it changed the way I podcast. I still can't believe what I can create from my desk at home and the features they keep adding, including video editing, so you can get your podcast on YouTube. Best of all is the studio sound feature, which turns my original audio, which I'm recording right now, in a big echoey room with my wife in the background doing the dishes, the front doors open. And even though I'm using a really good microphone, the Shure SM57, when I turn on studio sound, it turns it into this. But don't just take my word for it. The Pod Sound School appreciates how it eliminates the sucky parts of podcast editing, which I couldn't agree with more. When I started using Descript, I started to enjoy podcast editing, and I still do to this day. Podcasters, video creators, and journalists who use Descript include Jordan Harbinger, Vox Media, The New York Times, Gimlet Media, and Wired. Join the ranks of satisfied content creators and try Descript today. Go to 7millionbikes.com/promos. That's 7millionbikes.com/promos, or click in the show notes and you can get 1 hour of free transcription per month for free to try it out. And if you do join up, then 7 Million Bikes Podcast will get a small commission, which will help me create these episodes for you. Cheers. Welcome to Smarter Podcasting. I'm Neil Mackay, the podcast guy. And I'm here to share my wealth of experience and insights into the world of podcasting. If you've ever dreamt of starting your own show, or you want to take an existing podcast to new heights, then you've come to the right place. My podcasting journey began as a hobby with a Vietnam podcast in 2019, and it has been an incredible ride ever since. Now, through Smarter Podcasting, I'm thrilled to pass on all the valuable lessons that I've learned and help you navigate the exciting world of podcasting with confidence. So in every episode of Smarter Podcasting, I'm going to pour my passion and expertise into providing practical tips, expert advice from either myself or others, and inspiring stories that will fuel your podcasting ambitions. I understand the challenges that you face as a podcaster. I've faced them all. And my goal is to equip you with the tools and the knowledge you need to succeed. I genuinely care about your podcasting success, which is why I offer you a free consultation to understand your unique goals and tailor any guidance I can give you specifically to your needs. No two podcasts are the same, and I'm here to ensure that your podcast thrives in its own unique way. I founded 7 Million Bikes Podcasts to help save podcasters the time and stress needed to create and develop a successful podcast. For beginners, I offer a comprehensive step-by-step podcast course that covers everything from concept development to recording, editing, and publishing. There's 23 tutorials, over 3 hours of video content, and I don't leave a stone unturned. This course will give you the confidence and the skills to create amazing content that will captivate any audience. I also regularly update my blog too, so make sure you go to my website, 7millionbikes.com, to check that out. There's a treasure trove of insightful tips to help you build your audience and connect with your community. But Smarter Podcasting is more than just a podcast and a blog. It's a thriving community of like-minded individuals and businesses all working towards podcasting success. In this episode, I'll explore with you what you need to create your ideal recording studio at home. Let's be honest, not many of us can afford to use a professional podcasting studio. And in fact, in all my years, I think I've been inside one just one time. The episode I'm recording for you right now is recorded from my home studio. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to take your podcast to the next level, these tips will help you set up a space that enhances your audio quality and overall podcasting experience. I'll discuss the importance of having a quiet recording space and how it can eliminate unwanted background noise that can distract from your listeners, share practical advice on creating a podcast studio setup that promotes effective communication and collaboration during the recording process. Now you might be asking, do you really need a recording studio? I'll address that question and more and provide insights on how you can set up a home recording studio that meets your podcasting needs and, more importantly, can be done on a budget. If you can't tell by my accent, I'm Scottish, and true to stereotypes, I don't like to spend much money.
Well, surprise, huh?
And of course, no podcasting setup is complete without the right equipment. I'll share the essential podcasting tools you'll need, including microphones, audio interfaces, computers, headphones, and more. And of course, all the budget-friendly options you'll need. If you are thinking of venturing into video podcasting, and who isn't these days, I've also got you covered. From cameras to lighting and virtual backgrounds, you'll learn how to make your video podcast engaging and visually appealing. So, if you're ready to create your first podcasting setup, or take your existing one to the next level, then this episode is for you. Get ready to take notes. Let's go. Having a quiet recording space to make a podcast is important because it helps to eliminate unwanted background noise that can distract or disrupt you. Unwanted external noise can come from various sources such as traffic, people talking, or any other ambient sounds. When making a podcast, you want your voice to be the main focus, so it's important to minimize any other sounds that could interfere. A quiet space will also help give better sounding audio, making it more professional and most of all, more enjoyable for your listeners. Equally important, a quiet space can help you concentrate and avoid distractions, which is important for you as a host, your co-host, and any guest. So, what exactly do you need for a podcast studio? I'm going to give you some beginner-friendly tips to set up your podcast studio and the equipment you need now before you make a bigger investment in more expensive equipment you might not even need. While having access to a professional studio can definitely provide higher quality sound, most podcasters record in a home recording studio in their home or office or even under the stairs. It's important though to have the right space with minimal background noise and good acoustics to ensure the best quality possible. Also, investing in a good quality microphone and recording software is the quickest and easiest way to improve the sound quality of your podcast. So here are my tips to create your home podcast studio and a quiet space to record your podcast for great audio quality. And if you know anything about me, good audio quality is more important than good content. And that is controversial, but I stick by it. So before you begin reorganizing your workspace or your entire home for your podcasting space, be clear on what type of podcast you will start. There is a big difference between podcasting and creating a YouTube channel. Generally, you need similar setups for both types. However, a YouTube channel requires more equipment such as clear lighting, a camera, a tripod, and probably extra memory cards for all those sound and video recordings. In this episode, I'm going to mostly focus on audio podcasting because that is my expertise and I don't want to advise you for something that I don't know much about. So here are some of the basic things that you'll need as a podcaster. A quiet room, microphone, audio interface, computer, editing software, headphones, pop filter, mic stand, and acoustic treatment. These are just some of the basic things that you need for your own podcast setup if you don't have access to a professional podcast studio, which most of us don't. The cost of these items can vary greatly depending on the quality and the brand you choose, but you can start with a modest budget and gradually upgrade as you grow your podcast. I started with just a Blue Yeti microphone, a MacBook Pro from 2010, and some blankets, sheets, and pillows as acoustic treatment. I used GarageBand, which was the free editing software that came with the Mac, and I had no idea how to use it. Since then, I've built up my podcasting equipment that I can now take it anywhere and record clients wherever they are and create a quality podcast. So first of all, let's talk about having a quiet room. This is a space that is away from the distractions and the external noises necessary to record good audio. Decide now if you have a spare room or a cupboard, somewhere under the stairs even, some sort of space that you can set up your podcast studio. Now, I understand that not everyone can afford a luxurious extra room for the sake of podcasting. I've been there, but try to stay realistic within your expectations. So, for example, you can start off just in the corner of your bedroom or your office, but make sure to check that the walls are not shared with any loud neighbors or bathrooms. Try to keep that corner as quiet and as calm as possible to record your podcast episodes smoothly and professionally. When it comes to a microphone, you're going to need a USB or an XLR microphone. And these can be broken down further into two categories: condenser mics and dynamic mics. I started off with a USB Blue Yeti microphone, and I recommend that you use an XLR condenser microphone such as the one I'm using right now, the Shure SM57, as it's more sensitive and captures more detail than a dynamic microphone. A dynamic microphone like the Blue Yeti will also pick up every noise in the room. So you're going to get all that white noise and background noise in your recording, which distracts the listener from your amazing content. In the next episode, I'm going to share more details about microphones, so stay tuned for that one, and we'll go into much more detail. Now, you also need an audio interface. This is an essential tool for podcasting because what it does is it enables you to connect your XLR microphone and your other audio equipment to your computer. This allows you to use external microphones and other audio equipment that provide higher quality sound and greater control. Audio interfaces also typically have built-in preamps and other features that help you adjust and optimize the sound levels and quality. Anything you can do to save you time in the post-edit, you will be grateful for. Obviously, you're going to need a computer. It's the most essential piece of equipment for your podcasting studio. You can't do anything without it. This is where all the magic happens. You're recording, editing, and publishing. I would advise to make sure your laptop is cleared up before you start recording hours and hours of audio. Even get yourself a solid-state hard drive. And make sure you know which digital audio workstation, that's the D, you're going to use. Which was easy to learn and use and did exactly what I needed it for, but it was pretty laborious and took a long time to edit. There are many podcast editing software options available, and the right one for you will depend on your specific needs and your personal preferences, because each one will have slightly different editing capabilities. The DAW is where you will do your post-production after you record. Some of the popular ones include Audacity, which is free for Windows, GarageBand, which I mentioned is free for Mac, and Adobe Audition, which is a high-end pro tool that podcasters use, which has many more features that you don't need. So I recommend Descript. And if you followed my podcast on my blog, you'll know that I am a passionate promoter of Descript. I'm also an affiliate, so if you do go to the link in my show notes, click the link, and then only if you sign up, I will get a small commission. But I don't do it for the commission. I do it because I believe in the program. It has literally changed my podcasting life. And one of the things I love about Descript is that you can upload it directly from there to your hosting platform. And you don't have to be an expert about doing post-production editing in terms of volume and leveling. It has the automatic studio sound feature. So as soon as you click just one button, it will make you sound like you're in a studio, which sounds even better if you're using a good microphone like I am right now. And it will also level all the sounds as well. If you do want to learn about how to podcast with Descript, then go to my blog and you'll find the article there, which will give you a step-by-step guide on how to use Descript. And if you do want to sign up for it, go to the show notes, click there, and you'll get the link. Now, do you need headphones? Yes, I would 100% advise that you wear them. I didn't used to. I didn't think they were essential. I didn't realize until I started using them how much of a difference they make. Wearing a good pair of headphones allows you to monitor the audio quality of your recordings in real time. It really helps you hear any unwanted noise, distortions, or any other issues, and then adjust accordingly. You don't want to spend an hour recording an episode without headphones on, and then when you go to play it back and edit it, you realize that there was a noise in the background that you couldn't hear with your own ears, but with the headphones on, you realize the microphone was picking it all up. I am telling you this from experience. It has happened to me. The worst thing I ever did was have a glass of water filled with ice right next to my microphone. If I had headphones on, I would have realized that every time I picked that up, it was really clear, the noise of jingling ice. I didn't have headphones on, and I didn't realize until I did the edit that all you could hear in the background was me picking up my cup of water with ice. I had to cut so much out of that podcast because it couldn't be used because all you could hear in the background was jangling ice. Also, when using either a USB mic or an XLR mic, sound can leak from the source called noise bleeding. So whether the sound is coming from a guest, host, or a co-host, it can be picked up by the microphones. Wearing headphones can help reduce noise bleeding. Believe me, wearing headphones will help you produce high-quality podcasts and improve the listening experience for your audience. I wanted to share with you about one of my favorite affiliate partners, and that is Fiverr. I've been using Fiverr for years for everything from ordering YouTube thumbnails to keyword research, writing podcast articles, even to Canva designs and thumbnails and more. So whether you're a budding entrepreneur, a podcaster, or anyone in between, Fiverr has got you covered. It really is the go-to platform if you want to find freelancers offering a massive range of services to help you on any project. Maybe you need a stunning new logo or just a short animation, whatever you need, you can find it on Fiverr. What I love the most is how easy Fiverr makes it to connect with talented freelancers from around the world, all at prices that will fit whatever your budget is. Plus, with Fiverr's secure payment system, you can trust that your transactions are safe and secure. No dodgy people you meet on Facebook groups that disappear with your money and never give you what you want. What, that's only happened to me? As an affiliate partner, I will get a small commission if you use the link and at no extra cost to you. As an affiliate partner, I will get a small commission if you click my link and you buy something, all at no extra cost to you. And best of all, you will be directly supporting the making of this podcast that you're listening to for free, but it is not free to make. So why wait? Head over to somewhere that you've probably never been before. It's called the show notes. So whatever app you're listening in, if it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything at all, head to the show notes, click on my special link, and then you can browse thousands of gigs ready to help you with your next project. Now, you may or may not have heard of something called a pop filter. That can be a foam cover or a mesh screen that provides noise protection when recording. Right now, as I said, I'm using the Shure SM57 and I have a foam cover over it. What this does is prevent the plosive sounds, which are sudden bursts of air that can cause popping sounds when speaking certain consonant sounds like P and B. When you use a pop filter, it helps reduce or eliminate these plosives from being recorded, resulting in clearer and cleaner audio quality. Now, I once recorded a podcast with a client and I forgot to put the pop filter on. Thankfully, in post-production, you can eliminate that, but again, it took me an extra hour or two to be able to figure out how to eliminate that plosive sound. If you're already a sound engineer, you'll probably be able to do that in a few minutes, but let's be honest, most independent podcasters like us aren't sound engineers. As I mentioned at the beginning, I want to help you avoid all the mistakes that I made. So make sure to remember to use your pop filter. It will also help reduce sibilance, which is the harsh S and T sounds that can be heard in some recordings. Pop filters are one of the most simple and cost-effective ways to improve the sound quality of your podcast recordings, and it will really help you in the post-production, and they really don't cost much at all. Another important piece of equipment you're going to need is a mic stand or a boom arm, and you're going to need this for several reasons. This is going to allow you to place the microphone at a consistent distance and angle from your mouth, and this will help ensure consistent sound quality and clarity throughout your recording. Holding a microphone for an extended period of time can be tiring, believe me, and it also may cause unwanted background noises as you naturally fiddle with it. A boom arm is my preference. It allows you to sit comfortably and focus on delivering the content without worrying about holding it, and that's what I'm using right now. It eliminates all handling noises and other vibrations that can interfere with the quality of the show. Some of the clients that I've worked for use a mic stand that sits on their desk, and I'm not going to name names because he knows who he is. He consistently drinks tea to keep his mouth lubricated during the recording, and every time he would put that cup of tea down and drag it across his desk, it would cause the mic stand to vibrate and it would be picked up in the microphone. This means I recommend a boom arm. It is an essential accessory for any podcast, and it will help you improve the quality and consistency of your recording no end. So I want to leave you with a pro tip. Don't hold your microphone. Now, when it comes to acoustic treatment, this helps to reduce the echoes and other unwanted sounds that can affect the quality of your podcast. Adding acoustic foam tiles to the walls and ceiling can help reduce external noises and prevent echoes. If you do have the space and a little bit of money to spend on acoustic foam tiles, it will dampen the sound. If you can't afford acoustic panels, do what I did when I first started and think about using blankets, curtains, cushions and pillows, anything that will cover shiny surfaces and help absorb the sound. Now, my sound engineer, music producer, and good friend Lewis Wright recommends a simple solution. Cover any shiny, hard surfaces like tiles, glass, or mirrors with soft surfaces like a blanket, sheet, or even comforter. Anything shiny will allow the sound to bounce off of it, creating poorer quality audio. Covering these surfaces in anything that will absorb the sound will help and fill as much of the empty space as you can. So fill as much of the empty space obviously doesn't mean just start throwing around pillows and cushions until you're inside a little fort, but I have heard of people recording episodes in bed with a guest under a blanket. I would not recommend this, especially if you want to interview someone who you're not particularly close with. Even interviewing under the table as well, which again is not a long-term solution. There are many people who do change the closet under the stairs to a recording studio, and that can definitely work as well, but it can get really hot. I used all these tips when I first started recording with my Blue Yeti mic, which picked up all the sound in the room, all of that audio bouncing off of everything, and I only edited on GarageBand, which didn't really have that many post-production features that I could use as a layman to edit the sound. I mentioned way back, I 125 million% recommend Descript. You probably won't believe me, but right now I am sitting in a massive living room, come dining room, come kitchen, come home office with tiled floors and massive glass doors at the balcony. Now you might be listening to this and hopefully you're listening and thinking, man, the sound quality on that's pretty good. And the reason for that is one, I'm using a good quality microphone, the boom arm like I said, and I got my mouth right up nice and close to it. But mostly it's because I'm using Descript and their studio sound function, which turns it from this, which is without studio sound. You can hear all the noise echoing off of the noisy room. Then I turn on the studio sound and it sounds like this. So even though all of these tips are essential to creating good audio, you can actually bypass all of them by using Descript. So go check it out in the show notes. The link is there if you don't already use it. As a bit of a bonus here, I said I wasn't going to talk about video podcast setup, and I've tried my hardest for the longest time to resist video podcasting. If you do follow my blog, or even if you talk to me, you'll know my biggest pet peeve is people who say they have a podcast and all they do is have a video on YouTube. I still believe that this is not called a podcast and is doing a total disservice to the medium if all you have is a video channel. That is a vlog or a video blog or whatever you want to call it, a YouTube channel. If you have a podcast with an RSS feed, which can be listened to only by audio, and you have video content on YouTube, it is a podcast still for me. If you do decide to go all in and do a video podcast, you can start with as simple as a video call online, and I recommend you use Zencastr for that. So you can use the default webcam or just buy a webcam. The better the webcam, the better you'll do on YouTube. So I would get at least a 4K. And if you have a decent iPhone or phone, you may even have 4K on your iPhone that you can use as well. You may want to consider though investing in 1 or 2 high quality cameras to get more advanced setups And then also make sure you get yourself some stable tripods. This way you can record yourself and your guest in person and have high quality recording the entire time, or have two angles of yourself recording, which always looks good. Video recordings are a fantastic way to engage with your listeners, especially when you use them to make shorts and reels and TikToks. Just make sure though that you're using a microphone as well. So there's a little bit more technical skill involved with that, combining your microphone audio and the video audio, but it's not too difficult. And again, it's super easy on Descript. If you are doing video, make sure you have clear lighting as well. The brighter the lighting, the better almost. And if you're on a budget and you're still in the process of setting up your nice space, you don't have a background, virtual backgrounds can be a great way to make the background look awesome. There are plenty of virtual backgrounds available. You can design your own on Canva or, like I said, Descript. And of course, Descript has plenty of these built in as well with their green screen feature. And this might sound a little bit cliche, but adding some nice vivid indoor plants in the background gives a friendlier feel to your video recordings. And you can pair this with some lovely white walls and some good lighting, and then your video podcast is going to be good to go. And you can do the old familiar, which I feel like you see on every single online interview, on the news, on podcasting, everywhere. Have a bookshelf in the background. I don't know why, but everyone loves that. For the starting cost of a podcast studio setup, this can vary wildly depending on the quality of the equipment and the size of the studio. But I'm going to give you a rough estimate of the cost of some of the basic equipment that you might need to start a home podcast studio. So for the microphone, a good quality microphone can cost anywhere from $50 all the way up to $1,000 or more, depending on the brand and model. US microphones can be a cheaper alternative than XLR mics. For $250, you could get the same microphone as Joe Rogan, the Shure MV7, or the Shure SM7B for $400. Your audio interface or mixer, which is necessary to connect your microphone to your computer if you're using the XLR, can range anywhere from $50 to $500. I use and I recommend the PodTrack P4 by Zoom, which you can buy for roughly $220. When it comes to headphones, a decent pair of headphones can be anywhere from $20 to $500 or more. During the lockdown, I had to use the headphones that I had on hand, and I found out later on that they only cost $5, and they actually did pretty good. Now, I use the Sony wireless noise cancelling headphones. The model is WXM4, if you want to write that down, and that can be connected to the PodTrack with a wire or used for editing with the Bluetooth connection. You can buy these at Best Buy for $350 or upgrade to another good pair, the XM5, the next level up, for an extra $50. When it comes to a mic stand, a basic mic stand or arm can cost anything from $20 to the more advanced options that can cost up to $200 or more. For the pop filters as well, they can cost anywhere from $10 to $40. For recording software, there are many free or low-cost options, and advanced software can cost anything up to $500 or more, like Adobe Pro. I recommend Descript, which you can try out for free, but you only get 1 hour of transcriptions per month, so it's not really useful unless you're doing one episode per month, less than an hour. If you go monthly, you can start off on the Creator plan, which is $15 a month, and that gives you 10 hours of transcription. Because I do a lot of podcast editing, I use the Pro, which is $30 a month, and that gives you 30 hours per month of transcription. And you might think, well, I could just use it without the transcription. Believe me, you're going to want the transcription, and the more you use it, the more you get used to it. If you do go over the 30 hours a month, the next plan up is the Enterprise plan, which is custom built. And when I contacted Descript about this, because 1 month I used up my 30 hours, they were pretty vague on it. And basically, the custom Enterprise plan is when you need thousands of hours a month, and it costs thousands of dollars. So the solution to this given to me by Descript is if you do use more than 30 hours a month, you have to create another Descript account, but you can link it with your existing one, and then you can add those hours together. Luckily that month, I was able to get to the end of the month before it reset, because your hours reset every month. But if you do use over 30 hours within 28 days, then you're going to have to get another account and add those together. So overall, a basic podcast studio setup could cost anywhere from as little as $150 to $1,500 or more, depending on the equipment you choose, of course. So it's important to keep in mind that you don't need a professional recording studio to start a successful podcast. In fact, most independent successful podcasts did not start in a studio. One of my favorites is Sounds Like a Cult. Go check them out. I love their story. That was two females who started off during lockdown, just recording at home, got themselves a microphone, and it's now been downloaded millions of times, and they record in a professional studio with sponsors in the works. Obviously, investing in quality equipment can help improve the overall sound quality of your recordings, but with these tips and following some of my advice, you can still create quality recordings on a budget. Just focus on the essentials to get started. So a USB microphone by Blue Yeti is a great start, or get yourself an XLR microphone just to make it a little bit better. Get yourself a good pair of headphones and recording software like Descript. Just remember, you can always upgrade your equipment later as your podcast grows. Generally though, a podcast setup for beginners with a low investment into equipment would be around $65 with a $50 microphone and $15 hosting, assuming that you already have a computer. As a more advanced audio podcaster, the cost can start from about $420 based on this very simple average calculation: hosting $15, microphone $130, podcast editing $25, audio mixer $100, and headphones $150. As I mentioned, I haven't included the cost of a computer, as I assume that you already have one. If you do need to buy a computer, be sure to get one with at least 8 gigabytes of RAM for faster editing. That wraps up another episode of Smarter Podcasting. I hope you found these tips valuable and actionable. Creating the ideal podcasting studio doesn't have to be an overwhelming task. By following the tips and recommendations I've shared with you today, you can set up a space that enhances your audio quality, eliminates distractions, and allows your voice and your podcast to shine, which is the most important thing. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned podcaster, there is always room for improvement when it comes to your podcasting setup. Until you get to like the Joe Rogan levels, of course. And he could probably still do better as well. So take the action that I've advised and implement these insights that I've given you from this episode. Your listeners will thank you for the enhanced audio experience. And remember, if you do have any questions or you need further guidance on podcast setup ideas or anything to do with your podcast, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help you on your podcasting journey and provide the support you need to succeed. And before I wrap up, I want to remind you to check out my website at 7millionbikes.com for more resources, courses, and services to elevate your podcasting game. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Smarter Podcasting and leave me a review. Your feedback helps me improve and reach more aspiring podcasters like yourself. There is a link in the show notes for you to leave me an audio message, and if you do that, I will play it on the next episode and answer your questions. Stay tuned for the next episode where I'm going to dive into the best podcast microphones for any budget, and I'm going to be joined by my good friend Lewis Wright for that one. I'm Neil Mackay, the podcast guy, and remember, your podcasting journey is an adventure, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Until next time, cheers!
Hi, my name is Sal Jeffries. I run the Mindset, Mood and Movement podcasts. I've been working with Neil at 7 Million Bikes for the whole of this year, literally from the start of my podcast to date. And I want to say a couple of things. So when we record the podcast, sometimes there are things that I need tweaking. There could be edits or clips. It's really simple. I give those instructions to Neil, he gets it sorted. There's sometimes a sound level differences between the guest mic and mine. Again, that's all sorted so the outcome is a really balanced sound. And also if there are issues with voice, little kind of sound interruptions, all those things that can distract a listener, Neil knows exactly what to do, cleans it up. The end result, a highly professional, beautiful sounding podcast without distraction. That's exactly what I want. I know my listeners do. So if you're interested in having that level of podcast and that kind of quality, Neil is a great guy and I highly recommend you speak to him.